Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Aletoledo versus Herr Robert in the Community Patch Tournament. For those of you who have been looking for more competitive content on the channel, you have come to the right place. Now the Community Patch Tournament is a Swiss style tournament. What that means is each player is initially randomly assigned to play another, and then based on whether or not they win or lose, they go up or down a ladder ranking system that eventually pits the two best players against each other in a final. So that's what we're going to be going through in the next several videos. Now the Community Patch Tournament is based on the Community Patch mod, which is on the Steam Workshop if you guys would like to go check that out. The Steel Division League team are the people who work on that, and the idea is to just balance the game as much as possible since Eugene have moved on to developing Steel Division 2. So these players, they are playing with a little bit sort of different divisions to what you'd be used to if you played the standard game, but I will point out some of the changes. Let's have a look at what's going on here. So Omaha is our map, and Aletoledo is going to be playing the 6th Airborne, and the 1st SS is the choice of Herr Robert. Now the 6th Airborne has been buffed quite a bit. They've had their number of staghounds overall increased. They've had the number of airborne units increase, like the Airborne Bren Group, the Airborne Paras, and the Airborne Leader and Bickers. All of those have been increased slightly per card, and those are to replace some of the air landing and assault pioneers. So the idea is that you have more elite infantry and less of the worse off infantry later on. They've also increased the veterancy of the carrier recce, but just overall they buffed the 6th Airborne. Now with the 1st SS, they've actually nerfed it. So they've increased the price of Volksdeutsche, which is the sort of baseline infantry that the 1st SS use. They've increased the price of the Stugs in the early game, which are now 120 points instead of 110. They've taken away some veterancy, and probably one of the biggest changes is that they've removed one of the Panther Gs from Phase B. So you only have one to rely on now, rather than the two that you used to get, which would make the 1st SS very, very strong in more open maps. Now this is quite interesting because in the main game, without the mod, the 6th Airborne is arguably one of the weakest divisions, and the 1st SS is arguably one of the strongest divisions for their respective sides. So seeing this matchup on the Community Balance mod is really sort of going to be eye-opening, and see if they've got the balance quite right. So down on the bottom here you can see Herr Robert coming in with the 232. He's got some command following up, as well as a bunch of Sturm Pioneers. He's got the Panzerjäger Stugs following that up, and he's going to be pushing into some Ox and Bucks that Aletoledo has left here with the Airborne Vickers HMG. Accompanying those Sturm Pioneers is going to be a couple of Panzergrens, and then you've got Volksdeutsche for the mid and Volksdeutsche for the top. But with Herr Robert pushing very, very hard into the bottom initially, he has left his flanks in the mid and top sides completely exposed, because Aletoledo has spread himself much more evenly. He's got these Airborne Paras that have actually managed to work their way into this town nicely, accompanied by a couple of flamethrower squads here. He's also got a Piat and an Airborne leader. Into the mid, his flamethrower and Airborne Paras managed to wipe out the Volksdeutsche there. And on the top side, the Ox and Bucks and flamethrower squads got the better of the Volksdeutsche. So now Herr Robert's going to have to recover. He's bringing in a couple new Volksdeutsche units, but we've got to remember that these are now more expensive. So he's going to have to spend more in order to get them. Looks like he should be able to unload the Volksdeutsche and take care of this Willys MMG. But he's brought these infantry in basically to push the front line back so that he's not losing so much ground, although it is still a +2 for Aletoledo at this point in the game. So the Stug's moved up. We've got one Stug sort of pressing towards this town. He's got to be very careful because the Piat could maybe jump across and get a kill. The Stug's going to be hitting the airborne paras and so on hard. He's going to find it very difficult to push up since they don't actually have smoke grenades. They will need like a mortar if they want to approach this town properly. But it looks like Aletoledo is just going to try and take out the Stug instead in order to make some ground with the 6-pounder there. And the airborne leader that was accompanying all of these troops did get taken out. Meanwhile, on the top side, VulcanHDG have unloaded and are going to start pinning down the Ox and Bucks. But with the Willys MG hitting from a distance, there's actually nothing the VulcanHDG can do about that, because the VulcanHDG have 400 meter range whilst the Willys MG has 600. And if you use that range effectively like Aletoledo is doing, you can pin them down and then charge them, which will eventually cause them to surrender. This 232 looks like it suffered a weapon jam by an AT weapon, either the AB Piat here or the airborne paras. Nice job finishing that off by Aletoledo, but he's got to make sure that he maybe jumps out again so that the Stug doesn't kill the Piat squad. He is actually going to let that get killed, but the 6-pounder on the main road did manage to take out the Stug in the bottom side town, so great job there. Airborne Paras taking out another VulcanHDG squad, and this VulcanHDG pushing in the mid. Looks like they're going to find and force back this airborne Piat. Since that's in the open, they're going to get mowed down, no problem. Looks like Aletoledo is going to have to replace the troops here, since he has spread them out a bit, and that is leaving a hole in his line. The 222 is actually a really nice addition. Surprised that these aren't in buildings though. They do provide that smoke, and so they can smoke themselves off if they get into trouble like that, but Aletoledo not quite on his micro. Meanwhile, on the top side, IG-18 going to be taking out that Willys MMG. Didn't manage to get the better of the VulcanHDG in the end, but the Ox and Bucks going to be firing the Piat. With the VulcanHDG firing as well, there is potential for surrender here since there's no command. So if the machine gun does its work, then maybe the 251 could drive that way, but does get hit by the second Piat, and it's going to be forced back for now with that weapon jam. The Herr Robert's looking in a bit of a pickle. It's actually a really strong map for the 6th Airborne because there is a lot of these buildings to work around, and when your opponent is working with technically nerfed infantry, your airborne paras and so on get so much more value. Both of Herr Robert's close range infantry are on this bottom side, the 2 Sturm Pioneers, but everywhere else the airborne paras will be able to get the better of things like VulcanHDG throughout the rest of the game. The only way that Herr Robert's really going to get around this is with significant fire support. So something like this IG on the top side, for example, is going to take out both the Piat squad and the sniper in the same shot. But this is a really good choice of unit. But Aletoledo looking to find the shot with the mortar. So Piat does get found by some Panzergrens. That's going to be killed off. But the airborne paras at close range will do a lot of damage to those Panzergrens and cut them down over time. These VulcanHDG are at range though, may be able to help pin the airborne paras since they do have the MG 42s, I believe. Yeah, which gives them quite a bit of suppression. So now Aletoledo is going to be going for the 381mm off map on the bottom side. That will be able to pin down these units at least, if not kill them off. The smaller squads like the Pioneer Führer and the Sturm Pioneers might die to like direct hits. We see a couple more infantry coming in to put more pressure onto the town. It's going to be another Panzergren with the Pioneer Führer. You can tell they are Panzergrens because they have the extra star of veterancy compared to the VulcanHDG, which are just disheartened and have no initial veterancy. So 232 has been brought in. That's going to be looking to pin down things like this airborne Vickers, as well as the airborne paras, so they can maybe be surrendered. Even more infantry on its way. So the off map did come down, and it looks like it took this Panzergren down to 4 men. Sturm Pioneers down to 2, this one down to 5. These Pioneer Führer are still good for now, but following up that strike is going to be a bunch of infantry pushing into the town. I really like the timing actually on this infantry push, but the Pioneer Führer will be able to get the grenade off and kill one of the airborne para squads straight away. So really good use of the Pioneer Führer there. to just drop that 30 or 20 HP power grenade and then do a runner afterwards. The Stern Pioneers should beat the Airborne Paras at this sort of range, although their numbers does mean that they might get cut down even at a distance from this point forwards. 222 is coming up. Aletoledo going to be dropping another off map. This will be a really, really nice off map actually, because it's going to make the Stug 3 fall back, it's going to make the 222 fall back, and then the 6-pounder can maybe get some shots down this main road. But I am surprised how well Herr Robert has managed to recover elsewhere on the map. Taking out the sniper and the Piat on the top side is really good. Looks like the 6-pounder managed to take out the 222 before the off map came down though. The idea here is Herr Robert's just going to have to keep pushing up with those machine guns, make sure he's using the range correctly, and the IG can kind of cover them as they move up. As he comes into the tree lines though, these flamethrowers are waiting and ready to burn them alive, so we'll have to be a little bit careful about that. These Airborne Paras looking to mow down the Panzergrens before they get pinned themselves, because there is no command. They are going to get surrendered and the Panzergrens survive. So nice work with the 232. Aletoledo really has a severe lack of sort of units to quickly counteract things like this 232. He can bring up a Little John, but the Little John only has 3 armor, so something like a 4 AP 20 mil can still do the job. All of this infantry though on the bottom side is taken care of. Both of the Stern Pioneers are dead, so are the Panzergrens, and the Stug is falling back. It looks like that has also run out of HE ammunition, so it's fully reliant on its machine gun if it wants to take on infantry. Good salience for Herr Robert though. He's managed to take it down to a +1 for Aletoledo. Aletoledo getting a really nice lead early on, but not quite solidifying his positions on the top and mid side. He focused a lot on his bottom side. Like if you think about the amount of response or the amount of points he put into this response, it was quite a lot. You've got the Airborne Paras, you've got the 6-pounder, and then you've got the off map, and all of that together is a hell of a lot. Like that's 180 point, 70 points, and then each of these is 25 points each. You know, you invest in over 250 points just into taking this town, whilst your opponent is investing a lot less in order to make ground. Herr Robert just going to be pinging the mortar so that he knows where it is in the future. That's looking to kill off the IG-18. If that could get a decent shot onto the IG-18, then it will allow his Vickers HMG and stuff and Knox and Bucks to open up with the help of the Tetrarch, and then he can push back the Volksdeutsche on this top side. But we do see a BEO Panzer IV coming in, and that should be able to provide some off-map to potentially kill this mortar, but also weaken any units that are behind those tree lines, since Herr Robert does not have any information on that just yet. So I think a kind of lack of recon on both sides is quite remarkable. We could definitely use some recon on the bottom side here to see things like this Volksdeutsche, the Stug, for example, although it wouldn't be seen because it's behind the trees, but at least you'd kind of know where it went. Any sort of units that tried to advance you could see. You could also probably see the Pioneer if you had a recon in here. So I feel like that's a bit of a problem on Aletoledo's side of things, but both players are under a lot of pressure. We're seeing actually some off-map coming down just for this Ox and Bucks unit. Yeah, Robert worried about that one. Tetrarch is going to be finding line of sight onto the 2-man Volksdeutsche squad. Potential for a kill there, as long as he doesn't move it too much. I don't know why he is. May as well just take that kill, surely. 3-inch mortar. Now getting the shots onto the IG. You see that off map coming down onto the Ox and Bucks, but IG does go down. Panzergrens waiting for the push for the time being. But what was quite an explosive start has definitely slowed down. Now we'll have to see if the 1st SS retains its power moving into Phase B. Now, of course, there were quite a few changes that meant the 1st SS were weaker in Phase B, but those were things like Panthers being taken away. And Panthers in this scenario are not too great. You'd rather rely on Panzer IVs, which honestly the 6th Airborne will struggle to deal with regardless. You don't need a Panther when a Panzer IV will do the job. Now we see a Typhoon coming in for Aletoledo, looking for the bombing strike onto the Panzer Grenadiers. See if that off-map can kill off the 3-inch mortar. If it can, that would be a very successful strike for Herr Robert. So far, not successful. Ah, there we go. Down it goes. Last couple shots there did the work. Now he's going to be putting some off-map onto the Tetrarch so that he can force that engagement and win it. Ox and Bucks, they're eventually going to get taken out, but this Tetrarch definitely biting off a bit more than it can chew, going up against 2 Panzer IVs. Ox and Bucks dealt with. Double Panzer IV going to start pushing back. Finally, some recon come in, and you can see that the Pioneer Führer were spotted, as I said they would be. And the Humber Mark III is going to find the kill onto that unit, which relinquishes control of that area to Aletoledo. It's a nice move there. Panzerjägerstug could maybe creep forwards a little bit to get a shot onto the Humber Mark III, but what I think he's worried about down here is the 6-pounder that has been creeping its way up. It's really putting that Stug 3 in a tough situation, as it won't be able to move anywhere until some artillery comes in to help out. Piat is going to reveal itself, shooting at the half-track. That was a pretty big mistake, as it will allow Herr Robert to be much more aggressive now, knowing that that is taken care of. Pioneers coming into the tree line. Will they be pinned down by the flamethrower quick enough? No, they will not. Pioneer gets the job done, and they will continue to go through. This flamethrower squad will take some shots at the Panzer IVs, like try and burn them out, but that's not going to happen, and a big break back on the top side here for Herr Robert. Not too much to stop him currently, so just got to keep moving forwards with these Pioneers and Panzer Grenadiers through each tree line. Check there's nothing there, carry on with the Panzer IVs and make tons of ground. Aletoledo, on the other hand, he just has to set up ambushes, because he's already got a lead of like 1,200 score, which is really quite decent. And if he can just get infantry into the right positions, he can potentially really do a lot of damage to the advance of Herr Robert, to the point where Herr Robert won't have enough time to break even or break back. Well, the 17-pounder's in a bit of a tough spot here, because it's facing off against 3 Panzer IVs, and the next shot from a Panzer IV will pin down the 17-pounder, and regardless of that, the Nebelwerfer is going to come in from Herr Robert and not only kill off the 17-pounder, but also pin down the airborne paras that have just reinforced. I think the 17-pounder, with its lack of veterancy, really struggled there, and the Panzer IV may have been lucky just to get a weapon jam, but either way, Robert still would be able to push through at that point. Here comes the last of the off-map on the bottom side. Looks like the Stug was taken care of as the 6-pounder pushes forwards into that tree line and pops it. Airborne Paras now moving up after that off-map strike. Aletoledo still trying to apply pressure across the map, which is what I really like to see as the 6th Airborne. It's actually very difficult to put on this much pressure with the 6th Airborne usually, but it seems like the extra availability of the Airborne Paras is certainly help him continue the pressure with some quite significant units. Panzergrens though, nice position for them, do have the double MG42, going to be suffering a bombing strike at the hands of the Typhoon. Not quite going to kill off the squad, but leaves them on one man, which basically makes it so that any shot from the Lee Enfield will probably kill them off at some point. What Herr Robert needs to keep doing though is developing this top side. He's now brought in the Gepards. The Gepards did actually have their packs restructured. I'm not really sure how much that really affects the balance, but basically they can act as both close range fire support with the 2-star veterancy, but also a really good at anti-air capabilities, especially when you have a lot of them close together and at high veterancy. So if there was a command here, for example, you'd have two 2-star Gepards, and those have the potential to shoot down things like Hurricanes. Now, we're not going to see Hurricanes since we're seeing the 6th Airborne, but For example, they would be lethal against such a unit. The Mosquito Pathfinder probably not going to do too much to that, since it is just a 20mm after all. But those flames are going to land right on top of the 2 Panzer IVs and the Gepard. Now the Gepard is technically open top, I believe, so it could die being in these flames here, and will do so. Panzer IV, however, will most likely survive, just needs to figure out a place to fall back. This Panzer IVJ managed to get out without a scratch. So the Nebelwerfer on the bottom tried to take out the 6-pounder, actually failed to do so. All of the shots completely missing, so the 6-pounder is still live, but Herr Robert I don't think can see it regardless, since he doesn't have recon. He is going to be reloading that Nebelwerfer. That's an extra 50 points to accompany that. One thing that people often forget is the Nebelwerfers are actually pretty expensive, because yeah, they only cost 60 points each, but you have to have a Opel Blitz munition come in if you want to reload them and use them more than once. Speertroop have finally arrived, so recon finally on the field for Herr Robert. Pioneers though, they're going to be engaging the Airborne Paras to see if Aletoledo micros them away. He is not going to lose that squad. Bit of a waste, I feel. The Airborne Paras would usually get the better of Pioneers at close range, since you're looking at 14 HE versus the 8 HE of the Pioneers. Not going to be the case this time around though. 6-pounder does reveal itself. Nebelwerfer going to be looking for the shots. 257 has come in. This is another unit that did receive a nerf with the community patch mod. It now only has the 1-star veterancy rather than 2-star veterancy. But we're only back to 50-50, and if Herr Robert wants to win, he is going to have to do quite a bit in the last 20 minutes of this game. The 3-inch mortar going to be starting to fire at the Volksdeutsche. I'm a little bit concerned about the positioning of it, since if the Panzer IV push more aggressively after the 6-pounder gets pinned down, that's going to die very easily. IG-18, actually really nice, is going to be able to target the 6-pounder and help take that out. But look at this 6-pounder go. Half tracks going down left, right and centre. Very nice. Nebelwerfer is currently reloading, but looks like both the IG and mortar have opened up onto the 6-pounder, and that may go down very soon. Here comes the Typhoon once again, looking for the bombing strike onto the IG. Is actually also going to kill off the Speertroop. Lovely bombing strike. 6-pounder now has been killed. So Aletoledo continuing his pressure early on, I think mainly with the help of the extra availability of elite infantry. Now he's bringing in his assault pioneers though, so that basically tells us that he is on the back foot from here on out, because assault pioneers are generally those units that you bring in to just hold the front line after you've run out of everything else. Saying that, there is a two sets of 2-star infantry coming in with a Cromwell 5. The Tetrarch Little John, it looks like it actually got a weapon jam onto the Panzer IVJ, but not quite the killing blow. And honestly, these weapon jams could add up to the point where these tanks should be dead, or could have been dead, potentially, but they're not. So now this Panzer IVJ, for example, is just going to go back, get fixed up, and then there's still going to be 3 Panzer IVs on this bottom side, just like there's 3 Panzer IVs on the top side when there otherwise would have only been 2, and that makes engagements between things like Cromwells and Panzer IVs a lot easier, because Aletoledo has not got so many tanks to work with. So when you're up against multiple Panzer IVs like this, it is pretty difficult. It mainly just comes down to ambushes at the end of the day, but as we continue to move through the game, it is going to be very difficult for Aletoledo to continue to bring in things that are capable of doing so. Things like the Piat squads, he's probably used them all up by now. I think this is probably the only couple left on the map. You've got things like the 6-pounder, that's now been taken out, and he's probably not going to have too many of those left, so he's going to have to start relying more on his air force, and that looks like what he's doing. But an unsuccessful Typhoon AT strike onto the 232 is pretty rough, since usually a Typhoon AT would kill that target, and Mosquito Pathfinder does come in and drop the napalm on the road, which is a really good position to stop him being rushed, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to whether or not the Tetrarch Little John can pick up kills onto the Panzer IVs. And it's really not in a decent position to do so. Yes, it has a 5 accuracy, but lack of veterancy, lack of aim time, it's just going to cause it to get killed just like that. Here comes the Typhoon AT. That one's going to do the work. 2-star veterancy. Panzer IV does go down. But with that airstrike out the way, Herr Robert has the potential to push on through now. And the flames are kind of getting in the way for the time being, but I think what Herr Robert wants to do is unload his Nebelwerfer, fire at this town, and then maybe make another push. Unless he's looking to counteract the movement in the middle, he's putting a Nebelwerfer onto the flamethrower and assault pioneer squad. He doesn't know that that's there, he's just kind of guessing at this rate. Another Nebelwerfer strike comes into this town. Looks like Herr Robert's going to try and make a move into that, maybe with the Panzergrenz. Gepard, though, getting the better of the Oxen Bucks with the help of the SS Volksdeutsche. The Nebelwerfer takes out the flamethrowers, and now with all of the infantry that would have been here potentially pinned down, Herr Robert's going to feel confident to keep pushing forwards. Can't just allow this Cromwell, though, to fire at him. 3-star Panzer is going to get the kill. One shot. Pretty likely to do so. It's with 3-star veterancy. Panzer IVJs do have 6 base accuracy. The thing is with Panzer IVs is that, the Panzer IVJs at least, is they have like a poor aim time. So at close range engagements, you can kind of exploit that with things like Stuarts or, you know, like not necessarily Cromwells because they don't have that extra aim time, but definitely Shermans. It looks like the Gepard went down there. The Oxen Bucks maybe getting the Piat squad off eventually. We're going to see a +1 now for Herr Robert. It's currently not going to be enough for him to win the game. He will need at least +2 at this point in order to do so. So we might see Herr Robert start to push a lot more aggressively than he already is. Puma has now come in to accompany the Panzer IVJ push. 3-star Puma, very, very strong. Does have that extra machine gun to help pin down infantry. Tetrarch Little John did get hit initially by the Panzer IVJ. I think that was just an ammo storage hit though, and then it's been forced to fall back. Nebelwerfer will be looking for the strike onto this town shortly, I would expect. Speertroop. Maybe he'll just use a Speertroop to like reveal the airborne paras and then have the Panzer IVJs pin them down. Who knows? Either way, he's got to get a move on since there is a time limit. So, 259s are on their way. These 2-star 259s actually work very well at close range, but a lovely strike again from the 2-star Typhoon AT takes out another Panzer IVJ. Really just slowing down the push on the bottom side here. Airborne paras with their Lee Enfields do reveal themselves against the Speertroop. You can see that Aletoledo after that does deactivate both the Bren and the Lee Enfield so that they do not do that again. That Nebelwerfer strike going to be hitting the town, and Herr Robert trying to make a move with his half-track. Takes out the flamethrower squad, nicely done. Here go the 259s, they're going to be able to push very aggressively through. This Oxen Bucks might get the shot, not quite in range though as the 259 move past. These Airborne Bren Group don't even open up in the end. They can actually grenade these 259s to death, but that's not going to happen this time around. Cromwell 5 does get side shot by the Panzer IV-H. When you get an abundance of Panzer IVs on the field like this, it is hard to cover every angle as the 6th Airborne. But that Oxen Bucks is going to do the job. 259 taken out. Is that going to be Mosquito Pathfinder? It drops one napalm shell right onto its own unit and blocks the road. Not too sure if that was a decent idea, but the remaining 3 bombs It's going to put onto the Panzer IV to maybe make that fall back for now. Now these 259s, they've made a lot of ground. Another AT gun is on the way. This is going to be another 6-pounder, I presume. That could maybe pop both of the 259s, but you've got to be very smart. You can't use this tree line. You just can't, because if he moves through this tree line, what's going to happen is both of the 259s will fire at the 6-pounder at the same time, and the 6-pounder will definitely die. Whereas if you get it to a point where it fires at one without exposing itself to the other, that's the way to do it. So ideally what you'd do here is maybe use this hedgerow and then just like attack move across so that you sort of manipulate the line of sight to get those singular shots onto specific units without ever being within line of sight of 2 units at once. And that's a very important skill to learn, because a player like Herr Robert's just going to get everything to target a 6-pounder as soon as it reveals itself. Cromwell 5 also going to be coming around at the same time though. If Aletoledo actually lets the Cromwell 5 take care of the 259s first, that would be very smart. Puma might be able to get the shot off before the Cromwell because the Cromwell's reloading, and that's going to be a shooter wound onto the Cromwell 5. The Cromwell 5 is actually going to end up moving forwards because of that, and it's going to get taken out. That's really bad micro there for Aletoledo. Needs to make sure that he recovers that afterwards, and with the Cromwell taking a shot next to the 6-pounder, well, that's now in trouble as well. So the 6-pounder moving into the tree line, now going to come up against the SS-Volksdeutsche, and really no chance for the 6-pounder to do too much. It does actually miss its first shot, which is really tragic, and then gets absolutely ripped by the 20 mils. So a +2 for a little while does mean that this will currently be a draw, but Herr Robert will most likely be looking for the win, and if he closes up this territory, you can see that it's going to go to +2, and Herr Robert will win in 11 minutes and 5 seconds. Cromwell 5 going to be engaging the Puma from a distance. Doesn't actually really have an advantage here. Yes, it has more armor versus the AP value of the Puma, but the Puma has the extra veterancy, so the Puma is much more likely to hit, and if the Cromwell 5 does get hit, then it's going to suffer a lot of morale loss, and that could potentially lead to it losing. So it just seems as though throughout the game it's got to a point where Aletoledo's been too sort of spread out, and there hasn't been enough concentration. Like, all of these Cromwell 5s have come in one by one to the point where they've all been killed very easily, and that's no good. Like, you really want to just have them all at the same place just to like push back one of these concentrated pushes from Herr Robert. Now the Focke-Wulf 190 does kill off that Typhoon. But yeah, you can see like Herr Robert's built up these 2 Panzer IVs on the bottom side with the Pioneers and stuff. Then he's got the push in the middle with the 259s, Panzer IV-J. And then he's got the push on the top side, which was more Panzer IVs, but they've slowly but surely been taken out as well. But as long as there's still one alive, Aletoledo can't make ground back with his infantry, because the tanks are just going to stop that. And like, all of these armoured vehicles make infantry play very difficult. So he's got to basically hope that the Typhoon ATs and the aircraft can really carry him, but now it's got to a point where Herr Robert can purchase himself Focke-Wulfs, and you know, those airstrikes are going to be a lot less desirable and a lot less effective. And if they do come through, even say for example if this Panzer IV gets killed, you know, the Typhoon AT will go down, and then there's still going to be units here to counter things like the Cromwell 5. Now, in my division, I actually quite like to have the Challengers in the 6th Airborne. They are pretty decent for like the 1,200 meter range, and you can just like exploit line of sight like this in order to pop off units at a distance. But here, Aletoledo just going for luck, really. There's no way you take this engagement expecting to win, unless a Typhoon AT might help you. Okay, now the Cromwell's just got to hit the mark. This Typhoon AT didn't actually end up getting the kill. Focke-Wulf is going to be going for the kill onto the Typhoon AT in the end. Tempest, though, is in the sky. Tempest might actually get the better of the Focke-Wulf. Tempests are faster than Focke-Wulfs, so he's not going to be getting away. But it looks like Herr Robert's going to be leading the Tempest over his AA, but since there's a Mosquito Pathfinder, the Gepards actually focus the Mosquito, which is technically a bomber, before they target the fighter, allowing the Tempest to actually get the kill onto the Focke-Wulf. So if Herr Robert had microed that so that the Gepards specifically targeted the Tempest, he may have been much better off. But it turns out that Aletoledo is going to get that Focke-Wulf kill. Doesn't matter regardless, since Herr Robert is still holding on to the +2 and has made a pretty nice comeback across the map. It feels like the 6th are still running on steam at this point. There's just not much left. Nebelwerfer going to be hitting some of this infantry on the bottom side. Just going to make that a little bit weaker. A couple of Humbers coming in. You got the Cromwell 5 coming in. You can really see that Aletoledo is running out of units, whilst the 1st SS is still piling them in. No Panthers in sight, just pushing on with the Panzer IVs, which is, like I said, a genuine strategy in sort of this sort of terrain. You don't need a Panther G when Panzer IVs do the job. Typhoon AT going to be going for the 259. I feel like that would have been a little bit of a waste of a strike. Going for the Puma would have been much better. I'm not sure if you can see the Puma though. Let's have a look. You can. Maybe didn't want to get too deep because of AA or potentially even the Focke-Wulf. I don't know. But seems like a missed opportunity there. You should always go for those high value targets if you can, because if you do kill them, that opens up the opportunity for like a pushback. It's like if you kill a King Tiger, you almost always can push back off that because your opponent has invested so many points into it. Nice job by the Cromwell. Going to be taking out the Panzergrens there. But a couple more Gepards into the centre is going to make these airstrikes ever more difficult. And with the Focke-Wulf flying around, well, things like this Typhoon AT could be in trouble. Doesn't even end up killing off the Gepard there. Bit of a lack of micro from Herr Robert as well to not even react to that, but either way, still in a strong position. And this Piat, will it get the kill onto the Gepard? Gets the bailout, it's not bad. But might end up on the wrong end of the MG42s of the Volksdeutsche. We shall see. Ox and Bucks, they're pinned down. The 259's certainly doing a lot of damage. These Gepards also doing plenty of damage. Panzer IV is just going to pop that Humber. At this point, Humbers are really not too great, because even the 259s will defeat them at close range, especially with that extra veterancy, and the Panzer IVJs are just way too strong for the Humbers to do anything. So now we've got even more units coming in. These Stugs, you can see they are 130 points. And these would be the ones on the tank tab rather than the AT tab. Typhoon AT this time around going to get forced to fall back by the AA. Does still manage to land the bombs, but they're a bit off target. This Tempest going to get forced back by AA as well. And the thing is, if they're taking quite a bit of damage from things like these Gepards, then they're going to take a while to be able to be brought in again. Now this is much more like it, bringing in 2 Cromwells at once. But the positioning is absolutely awful. You don't want them sat on top of each other in this position, because you can see they just got suppressed so easily. And they even failed to kill the Puma, because there's no veterancy. Like, this airborne leader could be moved down, give the Cromwells both 1-star veterancy, and you're going to have a much better chance to find a kill. Bomber trying to get rid of the 259 there, doesn't quite manage to do so. But with 4 minutes and 20 seconds left on the map, Herr Robert really doesn't have to do too much. Just kind of sit in position, hold the ground, and just wait for his points to go over Aletoledo's. It's quite a shame because Aletoledo, like I said, put a lot of pressure on early game, and I feel like the extra availability that has been added by the community patch mod has actually made it so that the 6th have a bit more of a fighting chance moving into Phase B, whereas before, after Phase A, it felt like you had nothing left. And so in this case, with the extra availability on those airborne units, you just have more of them, and therefore if you lose some of them early on, it's not so punishing, especially for a division that is already hard enough to play. Here comes a Mosquito again, looking for the napalm strike onto both of the Gepards. We've seen before that the Gepards can be taken out by napalm. It actually goes for the Panzer IV. Like, I really feel like that's a mistake. Maybe he's just trying to pin that down so that the Cromwell 5 can get the kill. In that case, it's not such a bad idea. But if you want to like get lethality out of those mosquitoes, then actually getting rid of the Gepards would be a better idea, because then you could use the Typhoon ATs on the tanks instead. But with the Panzer IV dying, Stug has taken its place, and well, Cromwells have no chance against the Stug. And as I mentioned, the Typhoon AT, it does come in, but with the Gepards not pinned, it's not really going to do too much. So the way I probably would have done that is dropped my Pathfinder bombs onto the Gepards to make them fall back, and then had the Typhoon AT hit the Panzer IV. Now obviously that doesn't help you deal with the Stug, but it would have been a more methodical approach. Right, the way it works out for Aletoledo getting the Panzer IV kill, it's just his Cromwell 5 is under pressure now. Typhoon AT, or the Typhoon Bomber, sorry, is going to get the SS Volksdeutsche. Only takes him down to 5 health though. Tempest is going to try and engage the Focke-Wulf, gets forced back. The Focke-Wulf might be able to get the kill here. Should still be in range. And with its veterancy, the Tempest should not get away. Yeah, Tempest goes down. Because sometimes with like a Focke-Wulf that has less veterancy, Tempests, because they're very fast, can get out of range of the Focke-Wulf before they shoot them down. But a 2-star Focke-Wulf often gets the kills if it gets on target. Nice kill. Stug 3 goes down to the Typhoon AT, but the Focke-Wulf's going to be cleaning that up as well. This Focke-Wulf's going to have a lot of kills. Very nice. And now the Tempest coming in again. The thing is, Herr Robert does have the AA, so if he flies over, then he'll be in a good position to get that. But what he's doing here is really smart. He's scissoring the Tempest. You just go left, right, and because the Tempest is faster than the Focke-Wulf, it's going to overshoot, and then he reaches his AA, and the Focke-Wulf's going to get the kill. Very, very nice micro there from Herr Robert. Beautiful stuff. Focke-Wulf gets another kill to its name. And with 55 seconds left on the map, it looks like Herr Robert is going to be taking this first game of the community patch tournament. Can this Focke-Wulf get any more kills though? Another Tempest is coming in. We see a Ju-87 going for the kill onto the Cromwell 5. Does manage to find it. Tempest once again going to overshoot the Focke-Wulf, I believe. As the Focke-Wulf does try and get onto that bomber. Will the Focke-Wulf get away? I don't think so. Not this time around. Unless it's saved by the belt. More weaving from the Focke-Wulf 190 as it falls back, and it is going to survive. What an absolute hero. Ju-87 just cleaning up any armor that it sees. +3 has been found for Herr Robert. Seals the deal at the end of the game. Congratulations to him. So I still feel like the 6th Airborne is weak in comparison to the 1st SS, but that's probably mainly because the 1st SS can field so many armoured units compared to the 6th Airborne. And with the amount of Panzer IVs that Herr Robert used, it seemed as though the lack of like an extra Panther G, for example, in Phase B didn't really affect him too much. If it was a map like Carpicate, then it would have been a bit different. Like a Panther G would help you roll over any allied division. But that's it. Let's have a look at the team scores. 3,345 kills to 2,595 losses for Herr Robert. Not too bad. And if we jump over to the kills, well, this 6-pounder went to work. That's 60 cost. 6-pounder takes out 2 Stug 3s. These are now 120 points apiece in this mod, as opposed to 110. If we go down, the Typhoon AT also did a quite good job. This one as well. Multiple Panzer IVs going down. I would question a couple of the strikes from the Typhoon ATs, but for the most part, I think Aletoledo did a good job. And the Cromwell 5s, they needed to be concentrated like they were at the end. Like, bringing them in piecemeal one by one is really, really bad idea when you're up against or outnumbered by Panzer IVs. What you're better off doing is just playing it a bit more defensively initially, letting yourself get more Cromwells on the field, and then pushing all at once. just like kind of Herr Robert did. He brought in a couple of Panzer IVs, and that's when he started the push. He didn't do it before. He didn't do it like one by one. He did it like all at once. He brought in like sort of task groups, I guess, and then pushed through. We look at the losses. Let's have a look at this Focke-Wulf. I want to see how many kills I got. 4 in the end. Typhoon, Typhoon AT, 2 Tempests. Not too bad. Otherwise, it's really the Panzer IV show. They really helped him break through in Phase B. Like, this is all early game, where the 222 and the Stugs were kind of suffering in making ground. But as soon as the Panzer IVs come in, it gets difficult for the 6th Airborne to find anything to deal with them. The Nebelwerfers were a nice choice as well to destroy things like the 17-pounders. Mortar killed off the 6-pounder in the end. The Nebelwerfers are also great for just pinning down infantry in general to allow your infantry that may be worse in close combat to just win by surrender. So good job across the board. But that is it. That is the first game that I'm going to be showing you guys of the community patch tournament. I have for you, I think, 5 or 6 more replays that I'm going to be going through all the way up to, the final. So look forward to those. But in the meantime, make sure to go check out the Steam Workshop Community Balance mod, and it's called the Community Balance Patch, I believe. So yeah, go check that out. It has all of the details as to what has changed, and if you would like to get involved in helping balance the game in the mod, then feel free to jump onto the SD League Discord and talk to them there. But that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.